Okay, Mayor Palmer-Lohan, over to you to get us started.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much, Dave, and welcome everyone to the second workshop to continue our discussion on the East Side Innovation District Vision Plan Project. As you may recall, the goal of the East Side Innovation District Vision Plan is to set forth policies to manage change stemming from biotechnology, life sciences, and high-tech offices who want to develop on the east side of our city. We want to ensure that this change adds real value to our community. At the last workshop and in subsequent meetings with stakeholders, we discussed what makes this area special and what could be better or improved. We heard ideas from the community about improving pedestrian and bicycle access, providing more open space and trees, and introducing a greater mix of uses to benefit both area workers and the larger San Carlos community and beyond. We heard that this is a thriving and special industrial district with local and family-owned businesses that have been in San Carlos for decades and provide skilled labor jobs that are vital and important to our region. We also heard concerns about the environmental condition of the area and a desire for a cleaner, greener district character. Tonight, our consultant team will be sharing some potential future strategies for the East Side Innovation District that address these topics and many others. Your feedback on these strategies will help shape the future vision plan and is essential to this community planning process. I want to encourage you to really engage this evening. There'll be a presentation and that will be followed by community engagement. And I understand Lisa Porras, our planning manager for the city of San Carlos, will tell us more about how this will work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. If we can go to the next slide, please. Perfect. Well, first off, again, thank you everyone for taking the time to register and sign up for the second workshop of the East Side Innovation District Vision Plan process. My name is Lisa Porras, and I serve as the planning manager for the city of San Carlos. Tonight's agenda will kick off with introductions to the city staff team and also the consultant team. We will also be providing an overview of this project just to get everyone oriented. And we also are going to pick up where we left off and share with you some preliminary strategies for discussion. And we're going to retain the themes of open space and environment, mix of uses, and circulation. And again, circulation is just a term that the planners and civil engineers use to describe how people move about through a particular area, whether that's by car, by bike, by scooter, by walking, and all the other up and coming mobility types that we see happening around in many different cities. We're also going to be spending some time talking with you about these concepts and preliminary strategies in breakout rooms. And these are areas where you will be actively engaged and we want to hear from you. You'll be able to use the chat. We'll be going over a couple of different things with you to get you oriented on some of the strategies. And this is really the opportunity for you to chime in and so we can hear all of your perspectives. Next slide, please. So to get us started, the City of San Carlos team includes myself, again, Lisa Porras, and also our Community and Economic Development Director, Al Savay, and Aaron Ackman, who serves as a strategic advisor from Good City Company. And then moving on to the consultant side, we have our team from Perkins and Will. They are our primary consultants who have been retained to assist the city and us in this endeavor. We also have Plan to Place, Dave Javed and Paul Krosner here tonight. We have consultants helping us from HRNA, Nelson Nygaard. We have Bill Olmsted here tonight. And then we're also working with civil engineers from BKF. So just to sort of kind of go through a real big overview on this before I pass the baton back over to Dave, is that this project started in the beginning of this year in January 2021, and we aim to finish by the end of September this year. So this is a 9-month project. And how we started off with this project was by, providing our consultants with a lot of information about the city and doing a lot of background research. And a lot of this good information is already up and available on our website, which is sancarlosinnovation.org. In addition to that project initiation phase, we started off with our outreach right at the get-go and identified key stakeholders due to the fact that they are stakeholders that are located within the study area. And this includes every individual that owns a business in the study area, every property owner in the study area, and then also the many developers that have proposed their projects and ideas to develop within the study area. And then the last group, or the fourth group in terms of stakeholders, is a single family neighborhood just adjacent to the study area, which is known as the Greater East San Carlos neighborhood. So we started our outreach with these groups, and then we moved into the community-wide outreach at our first workshop on May 24th. And I know that many of you here tonight also attended that meeting, and thank you again for continuing the process. If you're just joining us for the first time, then I would encourage you to go to our website and check out some of the information that we have from the March 24th workshop. You can virtually just hit replay and rewatch the whole thing and get a lot of information and input about the discussions held on the 24th. So moving forward from the 24th to today, we took all of the information that we received from you, and then we're going to be sharing some of that with you tonight. But before we did, we reached out once again to our stakeholders. And the way that we do this is to do our outreach is we mail every business owner and property owner with a postcard and mailing an announcement about this project. And so hopefully those are being received in the mail and people are learning about this project and getting involved. We also use our social media suite to do outreach. And I know many of you learned about this project from there as well. But after we had our second round of stakeholder meetings, we were moving into tonight's meeting, of course, with you to share a lot of different strategies that we want to hear your feedback on. And then following that, we're going to be moving into City Council and Planning Commission study sessions. So this is going to be happening shortly after this particular workshop. And once we have those study sessions, which by the way, are open to the public, and this is another venue for you all to participate, and for those who haven't participated to participate in those study sessions. So we will be making announcements on those following this meeting. And thereafter, we move into the stage where we're really drafting this vision plan and then taking it forward in more of a formal way to the Planning Commission to receive a recommendation on the vision plan. And then subsequently, this plan will go before the City Council for the City Council's consideration and adoption. So this will all happen by the end of September, and those public hearings will be happening closer to that time. So I encourage you to visit sancarlosinnovation.org if you're not already on the mailing list, and sign up to make sure that you don't miss any announcements that we have going forward on this project. So thank you again, and I will pass this over to Dave Javits.
Lisa, I'm going to jump in here real quick and just acknowledge that Councilmember John Dugan is with us this evening. And so just wanted to shout out to John.
Thank you, Mayor, and welcome, John.
Great, thanks all. So just to get us started, just to kind of get a better sense of who's in the virtual room here meeting with us, we wanted to go ahead and run a poll just to get a sense again of who's with us, who's attending. And actually the poll has been going here for a bit. It looks like a few of you have already started to take the poll, which is fantastic. We really want to get a sense of is this the first workshop you've attended, or if you are with us at the one on the 24th. General demographic information, and then also get a sense of which describes you best coming to tonight's workshop. If you live here, if you work here, if you own a business here, really just, again, wanted to get a pretty good sense of folks that are with us here this evening. And it looks like we have a real good cross-section of folks that have taken the poll. So I'm going to go ahead and end it now, and you should see the results popping up on your end now, hopefully. So we can see that actually a pretty good, Geeti, do you have something? Oh, sorry, okay. We can see that About half of you actually didn't attend the workshop last time, so we have a lot of new members here with us today, which is always great. You all could see the mix of demographics on the screen, and then just a pretty good mix of folks who live here. Majority of folks looks like live here. We do have some folks that work here that are with us as well, and then others that are just kind of want to get to know more about the project. And this is a great opportunity here today to be able to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing the results. And I just wanted to note that there is the chat function available as we go through this process tonight during the meeting. So if you have any specific comments or questions that you want to address as we go into the breakouts, please feel free to use that. Otherwise, looks like someone accidentally started the results again. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and jump right into the presentation now, and we'll all get together again at the breakouts and have more opportunity to have a discussion, which is probably the most important thing here this evening. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Al.
Well, thank you, Dave. Appreciate that. And so what I'm going to do is provide just a little bit of orientation for the folks that haven't seen the district or haven't seen the maps of where this is, where we're talking about. And so what you see on the screen is a bird's eye view of the innovation district area that we've identified here. And it's between Old County Road. You see the kind of hatch lines down there. That's the Caltrain rail line there. So you have Old County Road at Britton Avenue, and industrial goes through it, and it goes all the way out to Highway 101 there, and then up to Holly Street, and it jumps a little bit across Holly Street there, where In-N-Out is, and right behind In-N-Out we have a public storage building that we believe is subject to change in the near future. And the boundary on the northern side toward Belmont is right next to the greater East San Carlos neighborhood area. And the reason that this is the study area, it's been identified as the study area, is because this is where most of the change is occurring. There's several large parcels, either as individual parcels or parcels have been consolidated, and we are seeing an influx of life science, biotechnology interest in this area. And as many of you know, you've seen the buildings going up along Industrial in the 800 block of Industrial, and that's the Alexandria project there. That's over 500,000 square feet of life sciences and biotechnology that acted as a catalyst for this area. And so, and you see Pulgas Creek. I think that's another important landmark that runs through the southern section there of the district. And of course, we have our historic train station, Caltrain line, at the northern section, just there. So with that, let's go to the next slide. All right. So any good plan starts with exploration and discovery. And once we start to take a closer look, the unique characteristics of any district or distinct part of any city will begin to reveal itself. And so what we try to do is just kind of look at what's there. And that's part of what we're going to talk about tonight is, you know, what are the characteristics that are unique about this area? And as part of our exploration and discovery together, what have we found out so far? And this is perhaps one of the most exciting parts of, you know, preparing a plan like this as a community. And so let's take a bird's eye view. And what this map shows is, of course, you see the dots, but I'm not going to go to the dots quite yet. I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the unique discoveries we made here. And if you take a look, this is a bird's eye view. And one of the first things we'll notice is what the planners refer to sometimes as edges or edge conditions, right? And there's some unique edge conditions in this district. And one of them is along here, along Terminal Way. We know that the Greater East San Carlos neighborhood is adjacent to the area of Terminal Way here. And so what you have in this location is a juxtaposition, right, where two different land uses come together. And so that's a unique thing about this, is that you have a historic single-family residential neighborhood right next to industrial commercial land use. And so if you start to look at all the edges of the area, you'll see a number of these unique characteristics. But I wanted to focus on this a little bit. And so one of the other things that you'll notice is if you start to look along Terminal Way, you'll notice there's a lot of dots and they're very close together. And if you kind of zoom out a little bit, those lines that you see there, those little gray lines, those are parcels. And so those are individual parcels where each of those individual businesses reside. And you'll note along Terminal Way and along Tanklage that the parcels are smaller and they're closer together. And those there's more of these smaller industrial commercial type businesses in this location in that area where you have that juxtaposition. Now, if you go toward Redwood City, what you'll notice, for instance, along Branston and Commercial, you'll see larger parcels. So the land form changes and the building sizes change, and that is a unique characteristic of this area. And then going to the dots that we see on the screen, what we see there is a rich diversity of businesses in our community. And these are, commercial. I mentioned commercial industrial. If you look a little closer, you'll see they're trade oriented. You can buy your tile there. You can see a plumber. There's contractors, people, you can get your car fixed there. And as a resident of the community, sometimes we go over there and get services or purchase things, but sometimes you don't go over there for long periods of time, right? So it's really interesting to take a look at the types of businesses that have served our community for many, many years. And it's also part of the fabric of our community. These businesses provide these unique and important services to San Carlins, but also to other folks that come to our community and do their business. Some would say that you could, and I've heard a number of people say that you can come to San Carlos and you could remodel your whole house, or you could build a new house from scratch. And I think that's very true. And so what we have here is this unique set of businesses, and these businesses provide skilled labor. What you'll see in Silicon Valley and on the peninsula, as land values increase, some of these businesses, it's very challenging for them to stay in our communities on the peninsula and in Silicon Valley. But they provide this unique balance of jobs in our community. We have knowledge-based jobs in San Carlos, but we also have skilled labor. And it's challenging to get those folks to come in here as well because of other issues like affordable housing. So they provide services. Skilled labor is important. These people have invested in our community for many years, and they contribute to our community. And so next slide, please. And so one of the things that we need to think about as a city is, how do we sustain ourselves economically. And from an economic development standpoint, we need to, see, well, how do we pay for our services and the things that we need in our community to operate and do what we need to do. And what's unique about this area, and it's not just this area, not just the East Side plan area, but the area south of Britain and the area north of Hawley. This area we call the East Side, and that's our main commercial industrial sector of our community. And it's 16, less than 20% of our land area, but it contributes over 80% of our retail sales tax revenues in our community. And so that's very significant to take a look at. And so as we move forward with this plan and in concert with our housing element update that we're doing, some of these areas that we'll be looking at tonight, and we'll call them sub areas within this plan, we'll be looking at the unique characteristics of each of these areas. And eventually, we'll be deciding as a community, well, what do we want to see in this plan, and how do we want to plan for our future in balance with our whole community and a holistic approach to reviewing land use and policy. And with that, I'll pass it along. DT.
Thank you, Al. That was definitely a great kind of underlay of information that Al shared here that's informing the whole consultant team as we get into this project and have conversations with you, which have also led us to kind of really understand your aspiration. You've shared a lot of ideas and have highlighted your concerns, both with existing condition and the future of the potential change that's happening here. So on March 24th, when we spoke to you, like Lisa was mentioning, there were such great ideas that you were bringing forward. And we also, the conversations that we had with the stakeholder group was really helped inform the overall vision framework strategies that we'll be sharing with you here. And, just to highlight a few things that seem to be kind of bubbling to the top from the conversations we've had, it clearly seems like there's a need for improvement to the public spaces. We recognize both the streets and the open spaces have a bit of they aren't as friendly environment as we would like them to be. There's a possibility of really introducing more nature into this district. Pulgas Creek access is important to you. Understanding how we look at remediation of contaminated soil is equally important, but really finding ways to weave in the sustainable and resilient design thinking as we look to the future for this district is really key. And then, like Al mentioned, all the business opportunities that are here, both to how do we enable the businesses that exist to thrive, while we understand that there are new businesses that are coming in over here. So striking that fine balance, understanding the transition between the single family and the industrial life sciences development is something that needs to be thoughtfully deliberated and proposed on. Traffic concerns are important to you, and we understand the multimodal connectivity and finding alternative routes for non-motorized paths and pedestrians and bicyclists feeling safe in this environment is an opportunity for us to kind of push on and change the character and experience of this place. So all of this kind of helped us inform the three big kind of themes that we want to share our strategies on. And these were the topics we touched or we spoke to you about last time: open space and environment, mix of uses, circulation. So without kind of spending too much time more on this, let's just get into the strategies that we're proposing. So for the open space, we have looked at three key strategies here. The streets clearly are unrealized potential, we feel. They're not the most friendly, they're not comfortable, and streets for a large part kind of determine the image and the identity of this place, and we do know there is a lot of possibility here. Looking at just industrial road, that's a kind of main north-south spine that runs through this district. And it has an immense potential to really showcase an identity and a brand of this place And we want to kind of push on that thinking. You brought it forward to us as an idea, and we want to push on that thinking. But at the same time, look at possibilities to kind of embed green infrastructure. And when we say green infrastructure, we mean opportunities for trees, wider tree canopies that feel a lot more comfortable and more inviting a place, introducing stormwater treatment kind of bioswales in the public realm, looking at really generous sidewalk on maybe the east edge of Industrial Boulevard, and seeing opportunities for it to feel like a promenade. The east edge has fewer of the cross streets that you'll need to navigate through, so it could be a really beautiful promenade up and down Industrial Road in this district. Definitely on the west edge, there's possibility, but the east edge lends itself to more opportunities. And then the other streets are also opportunity for introducing landscape, looking at water-wise vegetation, and really making that a big push and making that a statement that we want to be sustainable as we think about the improvements of this place. The next strategy that we want to look at is how we think about community open space network. Sorry about that. The community open space network is you kind of identified for us that there are rail spurs in this district that are an opportunity to create some open space, linear open space, and we want to build on those opportunities. I apologize, sorry. But they also are an opportunity to kind of weave in a network of alternative routes for bikes and pedestrians to kind of navigate through this neighborhood, create a more walkable, bikeable environment, and layer in a much more friendlier and a safer environment for 8 to 80-year-olds to kind of bike and walk and really make it feel like they don't have to kind of, they don't are always in a conflict with vehicles moving up and down the street. So the idea is to pick up on the rail spurs, look at those as opportunities for connectivity. L'Oreal Park in the greater East San Carlos neighborhood is an asset, community asset, but looking at ways how we can really create a north-south spine through green, what you see as a green line over here, as an opportunity to connect to Pulgas Creek. And it builds and stitches the rail spurs that are there, but provides another opportunity to look at both extension of the Bayport Avenue, but extending it through between the parcels, industrial parcels that exist, and look at opportunity for some kind of trail and network opportunities. And you see images at the bottom is what we're thinking about. These are green. These are opportunities for people to kind of be on their bikes and pedestrians, a multi-use trail, and connect to the bridge that's over on Pulgas Creek, and maybe weave its way out through the district that we are studying, but be connected with the industrial arts district that's further south. So look at all alternative ways to kind of weave paths through this neighborhood. And then the other idea that we are kind of really toying with and want to get your thoughts on, there is a corporation yard that's kind of right in the center of the district. It's a city-owned parcel. It has a very important use, and it serves, it has this purpose. But is there an opportunity, as we look at the vision, the future vision of this place, is there an opportunity for us to reimagine the possibility of this piece of land? And could it be a park or an opportunity for a activity center or recreation place? It's about 2 acres, so there's definitely opportunity to rethink its use in future. And we want your thoughts and feedback on those ideas when we get into the breakout group. The third idea that we are proposing is looking at Pulgas Creek. Al mentioned that this is a huge asset that's really not being tapped into. And we do know that Alexander Real Estate is already proposing to kind of improve the sides of the Pulgas Creek to be able to provide a trail there, So how do we look at this as another amenity for the neighborhood, not just for future users in this industrial area, but for the neighborhoods and for the larger city? Could be an attraction and a destination, and could be really pleasant. And at the same time, is there a possibility, as we're thinking about these improvements, is there a possibility to really weave in flood mitigation measures? Is there an opportunity to kind of introduce and welcome habitat in this area and look at it as a bigger amenity than just a trail along the path? So those are the three key open space moves that we are proposing under the open space and environment bucket. Now, talking about the district, about the mix of uses, there are two kind of strategies that we're bringing forward here. First, it's the district sub-area. So Al really helped us understand, and when he talked about the business snapshot slide, really helped us understand that there is a variety and a diversity of businesses that exist over here, and they are thriving. This ecosystem of businesses is thriving. And what we realized is that we need to be thoughtful about how we look at what's existing here versus what's going to be here in future, and what's the happy medium for both to kind of thrive. In one, what you see over here in the district that we have called out in green, it's really the catalyst sub-area. It's where the bigger development, life sciences developments are being proposed, and it has larger parcels, so it lends itself to a lot more opportunities and flexibility. And it's definitely will have a very distinct and unique kind of character. Two, what we've called out here in the pink color here is the Gateway District. It's right next to the off-ramps from Holly Street, and it has, again, a mix of parcel sizes. It has hotels here, but there are a lot of other industrial businesses too. But it kind of makes us think that it is a gateway moment, and there's an opportunity for it to play a special role there. We're not kind of being enforcing or any thinking around uses as yet, but we want to recognize that it plays a role and a responsibility because it's at the gateway and has such a kind of a long segment along Industrial Boulevard. Three is the core district, which is a whole lot of different businesses, like Al was pointing out. They are heavy industrial. Some of them are cabinet workshops, machine shops, and they are all important to the region. And how we think about them is important because they're medium-sized parcel. Again, they have some flexibility in what they might be able to lend themselves to in future. But at the same time, we want to make sure that the businesses that are existing there, they have an opportunity to thrive too. So they'll have their own special and unique kind of character. And then lastly, the fourth district that we have identified, and which will be very different from all the other three, is because this area kind of flanking the southern edge of the greater East San Carlos neighborhood are much smaller parcels, and along Terminal and Tanklage, and they have a real diversity of businesses. So there is an opportunity for us to be thoughtful about how do we continue to maintain some of that fine-grained character of that neighborhood, and whether we want to introduce a mix of uses or whether we want to kind of think about it as how things kind of coexist. We want to give it a special thought as we get into the project. We haven't kind of arrived at any clear strategies for each one, but we want to make sure that as we propose the character for this place, that there is recognition of what exists. And then the second mix of uses idea that you're seeing over here is really starting to see how we stitch and how we create that more connected framework for this place, which adds life and adds vibrancy to this place, not just for the users of this district and the adjacent neighborhood, but for the greater city of San Carlos. You can see here we picked up the downtown San Carlos Laurel Street activity in kind of pink lines here. They kind of show or tell you that the star edges, which have a lot of life and activity and a spill out from the ground floor with retails and restaurants. We want to kind of see how we build on that energy. And as you kind of get into the east side area through the Arroyo Avenue underpass, the foot traffic is kind of welcomed with more of that energy and offering along the ground floor, and then along Commercial, given its character over there, also has an opportunity to be anchored on the industrial segment with another kind of hub of active uses, which could range from anything from cafes and restaurants to community amenities like dry cleaners or a child care facility, or have opportunities for other kind of gathering spaces for the community, and kind of have on the industrial road also call out this segment to have that special treatment and a burst of energy, so that people see this as a place to go to and a place to kind of have a rich offering of all of these uses. And then this corporation yard here that we've called out, depending on where we end up with this idea, if it does lend itself to more of an open space, it could have also an offering of other community uses along this end. So kind of weaving it in with the more of the north-south discovery path kind of a connection, but also looking to stitch all of the existing fabric and the district with what's happening in its context, really looking at ways to enhance the experience of this place and make it as inviting a place as we can. And with that, I'll hand it to Phil to talk about some of the circulation strategies.
Thanks, Geety. Can folks hear me okay?
Yeah.
Great. So I'm Phil Nelson-Nygaard. I'll be your mobility guide tonight. And we are seeing vigorous activity in the chat. That's awesome. We're tracking it, and we really want you guys to bring that detailed feedback to the breakout groups. And I promise I'll keep my slides short, and then we'll really get into that conversation with you all. But it's good to be back with you again. We learned a lot from you in March on circulation issues and opportunities. There were some really insightful and passionate comments. I used to live right off the El Camino Real corridor, and I totally understand some of the issues and concerns that floated to the top, especially around congestion, cut through and fast traffic, safety, and the need for easy access to homes and businesses. People also highlighted, and I think recognized, the amazing opportunity to make this area better for getting around by bike, walking, and transit, and that this district has an amazing, asset to leverage in Caltrans. And we'll get into the specifics in our breakout group, but I did want to set the stage a little bit for our discussion on circulation solutions. And essentially, there's not going to be a silver bullet. No one strategy is going to allow us to grow and change and address all these issues in one fell swoop. Congestion, parking, safety, transit, we have to do more than a piecemeal approach. And our goal is really, to get your focused feedback on specific streets and intersections and blocks, but we really want to bring a comprehensive and holistic mindset to this vision plan and address these issues on both a micro and macro scale, looking to how we can reduce traffic and improve safety farther upstream with good policy, design, standards, and really strategic thinking around transit and mobility. So with that said, we kind of have 5 buckets of strategies that we really want to get your feedback on from the circulation perspective. And this is high level. We'll be definitely getting into the details. The first is really on creating a multimodal street network, making our streets serve businesses and vehicles and freights and trucks, but also provide that safe people movement for all modes. And we need to make sure that this district is, it's not an island, but it's really connected internally and externally. And as you can see in this map, we've really started to identify kind of the bones of this network, where those key corridors that we really need to focus on, and some of the policies and standards around sidewalks, bike facilities, transit facilities that are going to make sure that our existing streets are retrofitted and that any future streets are built with kind of these qualities in mind. So next slide. Another strategy bucket is around facilitating and fostering that transition zone that Geety was talking about, recognizing that we want a little bit of a buffer as we move north into those residential zones, but continuing to allow for enhanced connectivity. And this is part of this is about exploring concepts around shared streets in that transition zone that Geety showed earlier. And these types of streets serve a lot of uses in kind of a seemingly hectic environment, but it's ultimately controlled. You know, they do things like get rid of curbs, potentially bring in new street alignments and sight lines, lots of landscaping, active street functions, active street frontages, all with kind of the function of slowing vehicle speeds down. We obviously need to be smart about truck movements and make sure that we're allowing for loading. We also need to be proactive about management of the parking zone, you know, and the curb zone, allowing for a mix of loading activity and short-term parking. And I think the end result with this kind of strategy is essentially a really kind of fun, funky mix of uses and movements that I think really reflect the district character. So next slide. Our third bucket is really around maximizing people movement within the district and to and from the district. The goal is to break up, I think, some of the larger blocks, create a finer bit of a street grid, allowing some direct, simple, safe, and intuitive connections. You know, as the crow flies, the district is not terribly big. It's only about 3/4 to a quarter mile at certain points. But, you know, as a pedestrian, it feels longer because the blocks are long, the frontages are long, and the environment in large areas is largely oriented to a driver in a car. So the solution set may be formal walkways, it may be bike facilities, it may be more informal pathways with some of these dotted lines here. Ultimately, we want to provide a diversity of options while capitalizing, again, on, I think, that unique industrial flavor that it's mixed with some of the sprinkling of nature that I think is really unique to this district. And I think the benefit also at the end of the day is better connectivity to some of those more local and regional assets like the Caltrain station and your downtown. Next slide. Transit's key. We need to make it easier to travel by transit to, from, and within the district. We also need to be really smart and strategic about transit. It's very expensive to run a bus or a shuttle. So this starts upstream. We need to think not, again, just at the stop level, but, you know, have we identified the right residential and employee markets to serve? Do we have the policies and guidelines in place to create strong bones for good transit? You know, a lot of these transit supportive factors that are really important. Do we have incentive programs in place with district employers to encourage people to ride transit? I think the last thing I would want to recommend, and I think the city would want to recommend, is, you know, is a shuttle that, you know, that no one really rides. So I think a big part of this is having some really smart and coordinated conversations with Samtrans about, you know, some of the service improvements they're thinking about, and continuing to engage our local employers to try and find that right transit recipe. Last slide. And finally, parking, I think everyone's favorite topic. The big theme here is right sizing. I think having too little parking is not the right approach. It's going to impact businesses and access to businesses and district vitality. On the flip side, having too much parking is going to generate a lot of traffic and really make it harder to get people on other modes. So we want a good mix of public and private parking so that businesses and the general public both have good access, and that our parking system is really efficient. Again, this starts upstream with a vision plan, you know, defining the parking standards and requirements that reflect this district's proximity to transit, the community's desire for less traffic, and the need, I think, to reduce some parking demand from employers and businesses through different incentives and programs. We don't want a lot of surface parking, I think. We want to try and consolidate some of that parking in some key nodes, allowing people to maybe park once and then get around the district without their car. And finally, I think, you know, we need to pair all of those policies and ideas with good proactive management of on-street parking. You know, so our front door spaces are for customers, our residential streets are for residents, and we get that good turnover of those prime on-street spaces. So I threw a lot at you. I know our team threw a lot at you. I think, Dave, we're ready to maybe transition and really facilitate that good discussion that I think everyone's eager to have.
That's right. Thank you, Phil, and thank you, Geeti, for that great presentation. So as we mentioned earlier, we're now going into the most important part of this meeting, is to hear from you all. And for those that joined us last time, and for those that are new to the process, we're going to do something very similar, where it's going to be essentially an open house, as if we were all here together and we had stations set up around the room that you could visit on your own. We're going to do that virtually here. So have an opportunity to give you the choice to choose which topic that you would like to discuss. and you'll freely get to move into that room on your own once we open up the room. So you'll see something pop up on your screen. And we have 2 rooms set up, one on circulation, and then the other room is on open space and mix of uses. So you can choose which room you'd like to go into. And then the idea is in about half an hour after the first kind of set of discussion, we'll have a transition point, and you'll see pop-ups popping up your screen from me, giving you time updates. And that'll give you an opportunity then move to the other room and start the conversation on the other topic if you'd like, or you're welcome to stay right where you are. As promised, we're going to try to wrap up around 8 o'clock. If the discussion is going well, we'll continue on beyond 8 o'clock if needed, but the hope is we'll wrap up around 8 to respect your time. We'll all come back together in the main room and do a quick closing, or you're welcome to leave the meeting really at any time. And you'll notice one fun new addition to this meeting is there'll actually be a live poll as you move into the room. So we'll do a quick poll that everyone could see that's in the room to get the conversation started. And then you'll have a facilitated discussion with a virtual whiteboard, and you'll see note-taking going on the whiteboard. You can either comment verbally by using the raise hand function and or you can do that through the chat function. And if we go to the next slide, E.T., we can kind of just remind folks, I know we're probably all Zoom experts at this point, having done Zoom for so long, but just in case you need a refresher, there is the raise hand function when you move into the room. And depending on what format of Zoom you're using, that might either be in your participant window, or if you use the reactions, it might be as part of your reactions icon, all at the bottom of your screen. So you can go ahead and use the raise hand function. If you called in, you can dial *9, and that'll essentially do the same thing. And then the facilitator will go ahead and unmute you, and you could provide verbal comments that way. And as you move into the rooms, you'll notice your mics will continue to be muted just so that we can have a nice facilitated conversation. And then again, if you want to do the chat like you have been fantastically during this discussion, you could use the chat function as well, and all that information will also be posted onto the virtual board, and the facilitators will do their best to get to as many of those comments as we can, but those will all be recorded and put into the summary after the meeting. I did see a ton of great comments coming in about community spaces, about pedestrian orientation, about jobs, preserving small businesses, about flooding, about sales tax. So you've covered almost every single one of the great topics that we want to talk about in the small group. So we did record all those, and those again will be taken into the summary, but we encourage you to take all those great questions with you into the small groups that we are going to transition into now. So if we go to the next slide, just as a reminder, there's 2 rooms, and you'll see something pop up as soon as I open the rooms. It'll ask you which room you want to move into. Again, room 1 is circulation, and room 2 will be on open space and mix of uses. And if for some reason you can't move into one of those rooms, no problem. I'll be stationed in the main room and move you over at your request if for some reason you can't move in there yourself. So team, unless there's anything else I forgot to note, it's time to go have some fun and have great discussions. And again, you'll see time reminders pop up throughout the conversation to give you a sense of kind of halfway point if you want to transition, but you're welcome to stay where you are, leave when you like, or stay with us up until 8 o'clock. So I'm going to go ahead and open the rooms. Have a great time, and thanks again for joining us. Hi all, welcome back. We'll wait for folks to come back here and just do a final wrap up. Thanks again for spending your evening with us. Looks like folks are starting to trickle back into this main room. Hi all, thanks again for staying with us here this evening. We're going to do a quick wrap up here and maybe talk through just next steps and then send you on your way. Lisa, I think we have almost everyone back with us now. Looks like a few more people might be trickling in, so wait maybe a few more seconds here and then I'll hand it back over to you.
Sounds good.
Thanks again to those that just joined us back here in this main room, and thank you for sticking with us and for sharing all your great thoughts. I was keeping track of all the great comments that we put on the mural board, which looks like there were plenty. So thank you again. So before we leave here tonight, I'm going to hand it back over to Lisa to talk through a little bit about next steps, and we'll wrap the evening. So Lisa, over to you.
Sure. Thank you, Dave. And once again, thank you everyone for attending tonight's workshop. And I think it goes without saying that there were a lot of comments and feedback coming through the chat. I know myself, I was in the mix of uses and open space and environment group, and there was a lot of discussion, a lot of information coming through the chat. And I'm sure my colleagues that were in the circulation room experienced the same thing. What I wanted to say at the close of this workshop is that all of tonight's information and feedback that has been received is going to be summarized and then put on the project website, which is www.sancarlosinnovation.org. And so following this meeting, we'll put up the presentation slides. We're going to be working to prepare a workshop summary to capture all of your input. And we're also going to be posting a recording of this workshop. So if that you miss parts of it or kind of watch the replay again, or have, you know, colleagues, friends, neighbors, your network, you know, people that you know that would be interested in this, you can also let them know that this information will be available on the website. And we will send you all a notification, because now that you signed up, we have your email address. So you will be added to our email distribution list. If you know of anyone that wants to be included in getting updates and notifications, please have them go to our website and sign up. There is a link on the website where you can just type in your email address, and then you will automatically receive notifications and update as far as what happens next. And like we said at the beginning, what happens next is really kind of putting together all of this information and then sharing it with the Planning Commission and City Council in study sessions, where you, the public, is also invited to attend and participate and speak during the public comment period. After that, there will be work done to kind of create the draft vision plan and then go forward to the Planning Commission for a formal recommendation that will then be followed by consideration for adoption by the City Council in the month of September. If you have any questions, I put my email in the chat, but once again, it's lporras, P-O-R-R-A-S, at cityofsancarlos.org. And I'd be happy to answer any further questions you have or any information you need. There was so much that was brought up at tonight's meeting. Wherever we can share information and kind of plug you into getting answers, your questions answered, we want to do so. So once again, thank you all for attending tonight's workshop, and until soon. Thank you.